I was discussing with Nausher several years before this journey started, and now it's I would say, refreshing change that CSR is now being kind of incorporated in the company's bill. And the reaction has been very sharp. Reactions from the companies had been very much varied, and I'm sure some of them will today see in the Q&A session as well. Right now, just to talk about what this company bill is about and what actually it requires companies to do. First of all is to look at whether your company meets some of these criteria which are defined. There are three criteria. One is net worth of rupees 500 crores or more, a turnover of rupees 1000 crores or more, or net profit of 5 crore or more. So any one of that, if is met, then this section would apply to the company. Somewhere we have looked at about 3,000 companies would be covered as of 31st March 2012, if we look at that cutoff, who would be covered based on these three criteria. So what it requires companies to do is they have to spend on the CSR activities 2% of their profit after tax. It's not that companies has not been doing it, but it's now kind of required to disclose it by doing certain or taking certain steps. Another kind of research that we did, it appears that about 9,000 crore rupees would be spent, or spend of 9,000 crore rupees would somewhere get accounted that how they have been spent, the way company bill section 135 has been drafted. I'm not saying that this money has not been spent, but most probably what I have seen, several of the Indian companies, mostly the owners, mostly the people who run those foundations and charitable trust, they just do it and they say, okay, I do it and I forget it. I don't say how I do it. Probably now that is the one change it will happen. There are some more requirement, part of it Dolphy covered, is that to have an independent director. So several of the grey-haired people who are working in this area, specifically in NGOs and learned people, all of a sudden there will be a lot more requirement for them, because so many companies having an independent director with knowledge of CSR, I don't think we have in India. So probably some training courses CI has to run. Second would be, disclosure, and I think that's more critical, because the responsibility of this independent director, and there would be along with that 2-member more, so minimum 3-member committee, they have to disclose that what are the active, and they have to do both the things in fact. First they have to kind of mention what is that, where they would spend this 2%. And once it is done, then they have to disclose also how they have done it. So it's kind of a two-way approach which is envisaged in this company's bill. I have privilege, I would say, to comment on some of the rules which are being formed. And some of you might have questions if there is a parallel thing which is not happening as per the company's bill, but it is happening from SEBI, which is the Business Responsibility Reporting, which is based on a 9-point guideline, which is called National Voluntary Guidelines on CSR. So what's happening now through the rules, which are very much in the draft stage, therefore I'm not presenting here because there are several points yet to be covered, but chances are that these two would kind of get merged based on the rules that the way they are getting defined. So what is the impact? Impact on the companies are a couple of things. First and foremost, much more disclosure. So what you are going to do, how you are going to do, many companies would be extremely uncomfortable. That's what the feedback I am getting, but that's what is expected. Second thing is the area where you are spending kind of get predefined. in a sense, it is good that if a company has to spend anyway, why not to take a long-term programs, because this has to happen year on year, and I'm expecting that every year company will keep on making profits. So what happens if in a year if they are not making profit, still it's a moving average. So the 2% gets calculated based on last 3 years profits, and even if in a 1 year the profit is not there, still it would be average of last 3 years. So these are some of the kind of expectation requirements as per the company's bill. These are the changes, as I said, that key thing is it's not that companies are not doing it. Probably now they have to do under guidance of a board, spearheaded by an independent director. They have to define how they are going to do it, and then they have to report back how they have done it. Some of the critical issues which will come in, and it has both the angles. One is the accounting angle and another is the tax angle. Primarily this spend, several of the companies may not have bandwidth to do it, so they would use a channel of some service provider, probably some NGOs, which is allowed. But then imagine all these 3,000 companies, everyone like to use some of the best NGOs. And in that case, one NGO would receive money to spend from several of the companies. Now companies will require you to mention how and where this money has been spent. Therefore, looking at how, I'm assuming a NGO is used by several companies, how they are spending that money. So suppose they are spending that money in one program, and then how that allocation will happen, what kind of traceability of that spend, all of that will start happening, which so far nobody has generally looked at. As long as they are giving money to the NGO, they visit the site, they look at what kind of impact it is making, and people have been very happy about it. So there are 2-3 more activities or layers would get added. So there is one Schedule 7 on the company's bill, which primarily mentions that where this money has to spend. How I look at it, in a way, company's bill is defining for a company or all those 3,000, 2,500 to 3,000 companies what a CSR should mean for them, or at least for the 2% amount mean for if you want to do something more, please spend additional amount. So that's primarily how I read it. And then there are certain areas. Whatever our interaction is with the daily people, it's not ad hoc. It is not all of a sudden that they have selected it. It has some alignment from Millennium Development Goal under United Nations, which Government of India is signatory, and they have to achieve several of them by 2013. And I have some indication that we have not yet reached. So these areas would help India to meet those Millennium Development Goals. So these areas like eradicating extreme hunger and poverty. Definition of extreme is again not available, but we have to assume something. Okay, extreme hunger and poverty. Promotion of education. So again a very wide promotion of education. So there has been question that if a politician is opening a large university with a lot of private funds, is it allowed? So that's anybody's guess, probably not. Promoting gender equality and empowering women, it's a good point. Reducing child mortality and improving maternal health related to women welfare, but it's a good point. Combating HIV, acquired AIDS, malaria. These 3 diseases are specified, but then there is also one point, other diseases, so probably everything. So a lot of pharma companies who are quite active in providing health care specifically to the marginalized people, they have to look at it. Ensuring environmental sustainability, again a very, very wide range. So a company, if they are putting some equipment which is environment friendly equipment, will it covered as CSR? I mean, those are the activity. Again, probably not, but it's not well defined as yet. employment enhancing vocational training, social business projects. So that's again a very wide area. Social business project can really, many projects can be defined. Good thing is there would be several companies whose 2% amount will not be very, very high to create a detailed structure for year-on-year spend, and probably they may not have, wherewithal to do all of that. So there is also a provision that if you can't do anything, please give it to the Prime Minister Relief Fund or state, relief funds. Also, there is one point, if some innovative, some excellent projects you are doing and somehow it is not covered, then you can prescribe that and probably it would be acceptable. Whom to prescribe, how it is acceptable, that we have to see. But, other such matter that may be prescribed. So that's what kind of in nutshell is just a one section of companies bill. But much more it's getting aligned with this business responsibility reporting. So ultimately, as I look at this companies bill is more about your disclosure, and going forward it's going to be more and more kind of disclosure based, which is the primary requirement of this national voluntary guidelines and also the SEBI requirement under BRR, and all of that kind of will get covered into the rules which are formed on this section 135.